Hello, and we're live. The stubzcast has returned for 2023. I'm just hoping people can hear us because I've done a couple of tests, it's worked every time. And the stubzcast is back. I did 8 last year. Overall, the stubzcast, although I don't do many per year, it's proving still quite popular. It grew in 2022. So, yeah, it's just a fun show with creators. Indie developers have also had on the show as well before, and it's just a fun to share people's stories and knowledge through their journey into content creation, podcasting. Literally anything that's deemed content creation is quite a wide field. It is. This week I've got a guy who I've known for quite a long time, BMG, and he started out doing the odd podcast here and there, and I do remember the comment from him saying, "I'll never be a content creator." Well, here he is on the stubzcast. How are you doing, BMG?
I'm fine, thank you very much. Yeah, thank you for inviting me on to do this one-on-one sit down and talking. But yeah, all good, all going well. How are you this evening?
I'm okay, thanks. Can the chat hear BMG? I just wondered if the chat could hear BMG, that's all. There's 3 people in there. It's just wondered because it's something I'm new to. This is going through OBS and Discord. Knowing my look, nobody's going to reply now. Anyone in chat? 4 people. Must be someone. Go on. Can anyone hear BMG? The volume, what, the volume of BMG or the volume of both of us? Vimba.
Yeah, which... Let's see if I can edit my settings and just see if I can increase
Can barely
that
hear
one.
anyone.
Oh.
Hang on a minute. Masuko is a good tester of sound quality. What's the sound quality like, Masuko?
Does that sound any better? Coming through clear?
Can you? And also the question is, can you hear BMG? Is a question as well.
Yeah, can you hear us? It's good for Masuku.
Well, it might be good for Masuko. I reckon that'll be it. Some people listen to it differently.
Yeah.
But I tested it on my phone a minute ago, but I come quite through quite loud. So I'm guessing he can hear you as well. If he say it's good for him as well.
Yeah, good.
Right, sorry about that, audio listeners. We're just testing something new with the stubzcast, because on StreamYard you have to pay to have overlays and stuff, but you don't on this. And now I've got a PC connection. I thought I'd test it. So yeah, BMG, do you want to introduce yourself to people that have never heard of you in the podcast scene / content creation? I know it's hard for you to get used to.
Yes. I'm Baldman Gamer, also known as BMG, because I think multiple shows I was on, people getting sick of just calling me Baldman. So I shortened it, but obviously kept the name on Twitter and like me PlayStation and Xbox. So I've shortened it to BMG just to make it easier for everyone when on shows. But yeah, it was a bit of a strange one, really, how I kind of came into podcasting, because it was something I was never interested in. I listened to podcasts. I've listened to podcasts for years, but it was something I had no interest in the slightest of doing myself, let alone even host a show, which is still a strange feeling. But yeah, it was kind of gaming. Obviously, we had lockdown, which kind of restricted literally all of us from doing anything for like 2 years.
When the stubzcast started, that was 2020. It was.
That's it. And I think we met through Green Pass Gaming, because we were always both in the chat.
Yeah.
I think we're always going back and forth in the chat.
It was. Green Pass Gaming. I wish it was still going, but sadly it's not to be at the minute.
Yeah, but who knows? Hopefully it'll come back in the future.
Hopefully.
But yeah, kind of, listening to Green Pass Gaming, watching these regular guys, just chatting away and stuff, and got to know them, started talking to them, and and it was quite a surreal experience, talking to people who do these shows and actually responding and talking back, and managed to build up some good relationships with, Flat, Huxley, Scott, SX2, Luke Steele. Luke Steele, oh yeah. Yeah, and obviously with many people in the chat, obviously, as I said, the likes of Finbar, Masuku, yourself, we always seem to bounce it off each other in the chat and stuff, and I think if I remember rightly, we were like talking away. You suggested one day we'll get me on a show or something like that, and I was like, no, I don't, not really, don't think so. Oh, no, it's not kind of my thing. And then Flap reached out to me and he said, I would really love to have you on the show. Because I've got quite into the community at that point, and connecting with many people and many friends on Xbox through Green Pass Gaming and other shows. And it was like I was hesitant at first, and I was like, I don't know. I was like, I don't know. I don't know if it's something I want to do. And he's like, just try it. And he just said, just try it. See what you think. You don't like it, you don't like it, but then you can say you've done it. And so I went on Green Pass Gaming as a guest, and I think I had about 10 pages of, got the topics beforehand, and I had like 10 pages of answers to what to say, because it was like I have no idea how to talk on a show and how to do that. Pages. I had about 10 pages, so everything that I was going to get asked, I had something written down for.
Interesting.
And if you ever get a chance, go back and listen to that show. Don't ask me which one it was. I honestly can't remember. But yeah, you'll hear the way I answer as if I'm literally reading off a piece of paper. It was bit of a strange one, and nervous as hell. I was sweating all the way through it, and I enjoyed it, and I didn't enjoy it. But I think that was a mixture of like anxiety and things like that, because it's something I'd never done before, and it just kind of like, I was glad it was over. When it was over, I even said to the lads in the green room, I was like, I'm glad that's over. I says I was struggled. I said I was, when you'd throw me an off question that I didn't have something written down to, I was like, and it was. Yeah, but
no,
it was.
I know the feeling, because obviously I went on a few podcasts before I actually started podcasting. I was on, but the most nervous podcast I was on, I think, I went on Boom Show once, and Xbox 448. So I actually, I had a panic attack on Xbox 448's podcast, because there was that many people in chat. I panicked. I shut the laptop off and made out that my internet died. I texted him a day or so later, so I'm sorry about that. I had to think what I call was a panic attack. He says, don't worry, mate. He says if you're not used to that amount of people, I was still quite new. He didn't have to make a story up. I says, well, I felt a bit stupid. He says, don't worry. He says, it happens. Do you know what I mean? I had a chat with over 100 people in. I was like, bloody hell. And when I went on Boom's show, Boom wasn't the big time, like hundreds and hundreds of people. It was like when Boom first started, so the numbers weren't massive. So I was alright on that, but I was still nervous on that, because he asked you big questions and the topics didn't suit me, so it didn't go very well, if you ask me.
Yeah.
I mean?
No, yeah. I definitely. I can definitely relate. It's hard when you don't know the answer, because you feel like you can't just turn around and say I don't know, because then one doesn't make good content, and it kind of like puts people off wanting you to bring you on shows and things like that. And so you try and prepare as much as you can, but sometimes like now, obviously I'm part of the XPN network. I'm the host of the PSN Party podcast. I'm the host of the brand new show Destiny Party podcast that we just did our first episode Sunday
Yeah,
just gone.
it went well. I mean,
Yeah,
who would have thought it though?
yeah,
Podcast
yeah.
host. You are. I'll tell you one thing. You are. Obviously, when I used to do midweek gaming, I was never very good at doing the topic reading. But when you read an article, you are very good at reading on a podcast an article off on the podcast to talk about. You've got a good reading voice for podcasting. You have.
Yeah, it's. I didn't like say I had to. I'm a fan of like Kind of Funny as well,
Yeah.
and I watched their shows, and it was that's where I got the idea of doing it that way. If you
Yeah.
ever listen to Kind of Funny Games Daily,
I don't really know. No.
yeah, they do the same sort of thing. It's
Is that
they'll
Greg
have
Miller?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Greg Miller, and there's Blessing Adione Jr., there's Tim Geddes, Andy Cortez, and Paris Lilly, Snowbite Mike,
Oh, okay.
Gary Whitta. A big fan of Gary Whitta because he's wrote Star Wars Rogue One. He was the writer on that and had a spate of comics as well. But yeah, they started doing it where they would have their news topics for the day, and it's articles they've sourced from, like, as everyone knows, I'm quite a big fan of VGC,
You
so
are
I source a
VGC,
lot
yes,
from there.
You do.
But the reason, like everyone's, I get a bit of stick off the lads from XP, and it's like, you always go in VGC, and it's like, yeah, because they tell you what you need to know. They always tell you what you need to know, and that's all you get. So they make it easier when it comes to reading it. So
That's
I sort of
true. Because
practice.
the problem is, like, they obviously, in my guesses, the way they structure their articles is just to give you information quick, short, and fast, so people come back regular, and rather than have a big article that takes 10 minutes to read. Because a lot of them do, they fill it with crap because of SEO. Whereas VGC is quick and to the point. That's probably why they do it.
That's it.
Higher click rate and view rate, probably.
Yeah, and you'll always, and I do what they do is, because credit is always due. I always, cite the website that the article's from, and I always cite the person that's written it.
That is great, because I tell you one thing I've noticed, especially when I think credit should be given, because especially when there's, that Xbox expansion pass, it does very well, but sometimes they have developers on that say certain things where, like certain information came out about, I can't remember, a few things have came out in the past year or so from his article, from his interviews, and some of the big boys just point blank have taken the story, not credited him or anything, when that's the source. So you should, because it can help little smaller podcasts to grow. It does. So I know VGC is quite big. I think their views are in the millions now. Because I read on Andy Robinson's Twitter, he had a post from like 2 years ago, and it was something like the how many millions of people were viewing the website, and it's grows year on year. So you should always credit, because I bet VGC started out at the bottom, didn't they?
Yeah,
you should always credit people, big or small. You should.
Yeah,
so it's a good point.
and I agree with that. Yeah, I always like to credit the person that's written the article, as well as the website it's come from, just because it's I've just learnt to do it that way. As you say, there's a lot of sites and podcasts that don't do that. They just read the news as if it's their news, but it's not. And I'm not going to pretend it's my news. It's someone else's. I'm quote reading what they've done. But yeah, credit's due where it is. Where was that? So obviously did Green Pass Gaming, and obviously we were talking more, and I think we were talking then, like, sort of privately on Twitter and things, and you offered me a spot on midweek gaming, and I was like, I was very apprehensive, because
Yeah, I can understand why, because I can't remember. Was it the point when we had panels of six odd people?
I think it was.
Big personalities. I can see why it might have been a bit daunting. First.
Oh yeah, definitely. So I agreed to come on, and I come on, and there was, as I said, there was stuff I knew, But there was a hell of a lot I didn't know. And obviously, on that day, I happened to be on the podcast with VJ.
Oh yes,
And
VJ. Yeah.
VJ gave me the biggest slap down I think known to man. Because obviously he saw through, not gonna lie, the bullshit. He knew I didn't know what I was talking about on
Did
a lot
he?
of stuff.
I don't remember,
Yeah.
to be honest, because
Oh,
I've done
I
that many
remember.
podcasts. Oh, did he?
Yeah, he did, and he called me out. You know, he didn't. You know,
He does it in a
I
respectful
wouldn't.
way. He's not.
Yes,
He doesn't.
yes,
You know
yeah.
what I mean?
But I got the point he was making. I read between the lines of the points he were making because I think he reached out to you like the next day to ask if I was okay
Yeah,
because
because he
of
sometimes he
yeah,
says to me, "I don't know if I've offended. I didn't mean to. Did I
yeah,
offend him? It wasn't meant that way." Because I said,
yeah.
you know, um,
Yeah, because you reached out to me and
yeah,
asked me, and I was like, no, no. I
yeah,
says, if anything, that kind of like spurred me to write. Don't go into something blind and just assume you know something and people are just going to agree with you. Um, do your research, and that's from there. That's what I did. I did do a lot of appearances after that. I think I did a couple more on yours, and but I kind of looked into
yeah,
stuff before I jumped into it because I didn't obviously want to go in blind as I did, them two particular shows, so to speak. So I made sure, right, now I need to, before I've got the topics, right, I need to go and look at these, research them, get some more background information and look into a bit deeper stuff, not just read cliff notes, just so when I do talk, people know that I've done me due diligence and actually done research and things and to make sure I was quoted. So, but yeah, no, VJ kind of, I would say, like spurred me in that direction and made me think more. Never offended. It's very, very extremely hard to offend me if I'm honest, but it gave me that point in the direction that I needed.
yeah.
So
He's a very because
I love
he
VJ.
he obviously
I do love
comes at it
VJ.
from an industry perspective. For anyone that
Yeah,
hasn't heard of VJ, obviously he's been in the games industry. He's not in the industry now, but he was in the games industry for over 25 years. Obviously, he doesn't reveal where, when, etc. Who he is. Keeps that private. But he's got a lot of stories, and you can tell he knows what he's
mm.
talking about. Do you know what I mean? So
Oh yeah, definitely.
he comes from it from an industry perspective. That's why a lot of people like it. But you
Yeah,
know what I mean?
oh, definitely. Yeah, and I appeared, couple after that. It was a couple more times over a period of, I think it was like a few months that I appeared on midweek gaming, and then I started watching what was then XBL Party
Yeah,
Podcast.
because they
And
in the community. Because I think you were in the community. I've been in the community a bit longer than you, and
yeah,
XBL Party Podcast. Nobody knew who they were because what happened was Mr. Tucci at the time they were organising a big Halo competition, and
yeah,
Tucci was going around looking for other Xbox podcasts to be in it because. And then when I said, who's this XBL Party Podcast? Because they're on Twitch. It was all on
yeah,
Twitch, and no one in the community knew who they were until this competition. As far as I know, no one I knew who they were. I mean, others might have not watched it and stuff, but to me and circles I ran in, nobody had heard of them in the community, and that it actually helped them get into the community. It did, but
yeah,
they were quite good at Halo. They beat my team. My team weren't very
yeah,
good.
yeah. I
I was
remember
crap too.
seeing them playing. Oh, I'm no good at Halo. I'm the first one that always gets killed. Always. I'm never good at them PvP games. But yeah, I started listening to them. I was in chat and stuff, and it was Redders. Redders had posted on Twitter because I followed all the lads on Twitter,
Yeah,
and he posted, "Would anyone like to be on the show?" So I was like, I thought, you know what, I fancy jumping on just for. So I said, if no one else wants it, I'll jump on. And he went, "It's yours." I was like, "Oh, okay, okay." And I was on that show. It was good fun, good laugh.
yeah,
Researched the stuff I needed to, and it went well. And I think it was a few weeks later, then jumped on another show because again he asked to do one on, and I think that went on for like 3 weeks on the trot. I
Okay.
ended up
Yeah.
on the show, and then Redders had. I think it was after the third week. Redder says, "You might as well just come join us full time." And I laughed it off as a joke. So I thought, "Yeah, all right, yeah,
He
yeah,
meant it,
yeah,
didn't he?
yeah." And I was, it was just like an offhand conversation, and I was like, and yeah, I had a bit of a laugh in it. And then it's like he reached out, I was like, "Do you want to join?" And I was 50-50 because it's like it's dedicating time and
It
stuff
is.
like
It is.
that, and
Yes.
it's like, you've got to make sure you're there and stuff. And then I thought, well, I'm a panel member, so it's, and again, getting all the topics beforehand and stuff, so I can look into the stuff I need to. And that's how I ended up joining them full time, and we've it's evolved from there.
It
It's
has. It has evolved a
yeah.
lot. It has.
Yeah, I'm only ever a panel member on the XBL Party podcast. I don't host that show, but we were sort of discussing how we can start venturing a bit and be seen as more than just the Xbox show, and which is, as I think everyone has seen now, we evolved into the XBN network, which includes obviously Xbox, PlayStation, and some Nintendo stuff, and that's like film, TV. There's all sorts now, and I had the turn around and said I'd really like to do a PlayStation podcast, because it's
Because
the
I
only
remember
type
you.
of podcast I'd never been on.
Yeah, because I remember you telling me you wanted to do one. You weren't sure if they'd go for the
Yeah,
idea or not. You weren't sure, but eventually,
yeah,
yeah,
and yeah. It took a bit of planning because
yeah,
it was trying to work out panel, how it was going to look and things like that, and they, straight away they just said, yeah, if you want to do that, do that. There was no pushback. There was no anything like that. He was just trying to land everything upright so everything would, run like clockwork. And that was my first time um, hosting a show. Because I think, if I remember rightly, the week later we started Stasis Chat as well, which I'll come to that in a minute.
yeah, yeah.
Um, but yeah. So I became host of PSN Party Podcast, and it went quite well. It got a steady audience, steady views, and it was doing really well. Um, Regulars that were in the XBL Party Podcast were showing up as well. Obviously, like yourself, showing
Yeah.
support and things,
Well, I
and
tell
and
you
it,
what,
it went really
the
well.
first show, all of them go well, but the first show was really it is a popular podcast because
Mm,
PlayStation is quite popular. Well, Xbox is too. But you done really well with the show. It went really well because you obviously keep it. I've noticed you keep it very. I know you joke around XBL, but on your
mm.
own show, you keep it very focused in on the PlayStation, and you reel people in too when you need to, as
Yeah,
well.
yeah, yeah. It's
In
it's
a
kind of
friendly
like,
way, obviously. You know.
oh yeah, of course, of course. But yeah, I kind of want to do it a little bit different with it. And there is a bit of joking around, but it's mainly getting through the content, and it just went, yeah, it went really, really well. And right now we've got, there's myself as host, got Sentinel,
You have Sentinel.
Ash,
Yeah.
because Ash, he's kind of got more into on the PlayStation side, and he just comes on every week now. So it's like three panel members,
Yeah,
main,
he's.
and then we have like a guest in as well every week.
Yeah, I noticed that switch. It happened, and it it works really well for the dynamic of the podcast. It works really well.
Yeah,
It
It's
does.
it's yeah, me and Sentinel, we bounce off each other very well, and so because originally it was only going to be me and Sentinel,
It
and that
was,
was it,
I think.
and then yeah, and the odd guest in here and
Yeah.
there, but with the dynamic from Ash as well, it just all three of us just bounce off each other really, really well. And we keeps the conversations going, and then into having a guest in, some weeks as well to mix it up a bit. It's yeah, no, it's gone really well. We've introduced video game 20 questions at the end of each show just to change it up a little bit because you know people listen to podcasts because they want to know the latest news and things, and that's fine, and we do that, but it's just more to end the show, have a bit of fun, you know, test all our gaming knowledges and and things like that. So we really enjoy it. But yeah, it's a good show, and there is more to come. Obviously, I introduced Destiny. I told the guys that I'm going to do a Destiny podcast.
Yeah, so basically, the PlayStation Party podcast is got off to a really good start. I think the quiz adds a different dynamic because, to be honest, I listen to quite a few podcasts, PlayStation and Xbox, and
Mm.
of an unspecific platform ones as well. And you don't really get the quizzes at the end of the show.
Yeah,
And because you mentioned there is one IGN show that does it.
Game Scoop.
Yeah.
Yeah, Game
In
Scoop.
general, though, there isn't. They don't really bother. So
Yeah.
it adds a fun end to the show. It does. So it's quite good. That is.
Yeah, that's it. And more people are, starting to take part. Put some questions in the chat for the panel to ask and things like that. So, we're getting that community involved as well. I've asked community members for some suggestions. I've had a couple of games so far suggested. So, but it's going well. It just adds a bit of a different dynamic, just changes things up a little bit, and it's just more of a bit of a chill end to the show. Because there are weeks where the news is light, so when I'm going to try and do it like once a month, there'll be an episode where it's just 100 questions, which we did it last month, and it went really well. Panel absolutely enjoyed it. It was a really good time, and it was fun. It was good fun. You could have a laugh as well while doing it. But yeah, and then from there, obviously, we introduced the Destiny Party podcast, which is myself, Shadow Maul, and Mazarus HD.
Hang on, I think we missed Stacey's chat out there.
Oh yeah, sorry,
Stacey's chat,
Before that, I'm getting ahead of myself there. And we there was like myself, Shadow Maul originally, Raza, yourself, and we sort of said we wanted to do like a Destiny-esque podcast with that. But we sort of evolved it into, which we shouldn't have done, and I think looking back now, we shouldn't have done it, but at the time we thought it was the right thing. We thought would include news and things like that, as well as Destiny, and it was the wrong move to make. But we tried evolving it. Shadow Maul had left the show, and Sentinel and a friendly pest is in the chat. Good evening, sir.
Welcome.
We did the stasis chat, and we were, but we did struggle finding that mark and getting a general consistent audience and things like that, and sadly to say, it didn't work out, and we ended up ending it because it just wasn't working. There's a number of factors in there, from panel members clicking to what was being discussed, and how how it was coming across and things like that. So we all sort of mutually agreed that this is kind of it. It's time to step away from that. We were all sort of in agreement. No one fell out. There was no hard feelings or anything like that. But that kind of ended, which kind of freed me up a little bit, because I think at that point I was doing at least 3 shows a week.
I said to you, gotta calm down, because burnout can happen. Because obviously before Stasis chat happened, I ended midweek gaming, and I've learnt things. Do you know what I mean? The way I ended midweek gaming, some people felt, apologised. It's all good now. We are kind of give off the perception I didn't want to do midweek gaming, but I didn't want a podcast. But then I went on a new weekly podcast. But made mistakes. You live and learn. But I'm all good with everyone. So it's all good. It is.
It's all a learning curve. It's like, because I had the Stasis chat on the Monday, I had the PSN Party podcast on the Wednesday, XBL Party podcast on the Thursday, and then there were numerous weeks I was on other podcasts, whether like the Friday or the Saturday. So it was getting a lot and too much, and I kept feel like I was repeating myself with a lot of stuff because it's the same opinions across all the shows. You know, it was
Yeah,
so
yeah,
kind
you're right.
of
'Cause you go on one podcast and I'd hear you say exactly the same basic thing because your opinion, it doesn't really change, does it? Unless you're
no.
lying and saying the opposite, just so you got something different to say, which you would never do. Do you know what
Yeah,
I mean?
this is it. So in a way, it was good that Stacey's chat ended because it was, you know, opinions I was giving on that. I was then giving on the other shows, but by then now just doing a PlayStation podcast on a Wednesday and Xbox podcast on the Thursday. Opinions are different because the news topics I keep separate. So it's like we mainly it's just pretty much PlayStation focused on PlayStation, Xbox focused on the XBL show, which means obviously you can have different opinions and um, especially on the PlayStation show. I like to joke about you know, but I think people take me too seriously when I do the
You
whole
do.
Jim Ryan thing.
You got a bit of a threat this week, didn't you? Because
I did.
someone didn't realise you were joking. Do you
Yeah,
know what I mean?
yeah. They thought I was being serious, you know, laughing and joking at Microsoft's expense and how amazing Jim Ryan is, and so it's clearly they've never really listened to
Exactly.
me on other shows and things like that because it was all just good fun. It's all fun, you know, whether someone agrees with that deal or not that deal, you know, the whole ABK thing, you've got to have a laugh and a bit of a joke about it because
Because in reality,
why is it so
to the
serious?
Joe public, the common person, you know, the average gamer, we're not invested in his company. It doesn't really, in the grand scheme of things, matter to us. It
No,
don't. Do you
no,
know what I mean? It's
you
just
don't.
you go on podcast to have fun,
Yeah,
talk
that's it.
because no one really gets paid unless you're high level. You know, like kind of funny level, that kind of you know.
Yeah,
Unless you're on that level, that's a bit different. But
yeah, of course.
most people in our community they just do it for fun. That's all it is.
Yeah, exactly, and it is all fun. I don't go on these shows I don't see it as work. I see it as fun, and as obviously you know, we've been back and forth many a times about, you know, I always said I'm not content creator and stuff like that. And you're like, no, you
Yeah,
are.
you
You're
are.
hosting a show. You're scheduling a show.
The
You're doing
minute
all
you
this.
got a PSN party podcast, like hello host,
Mm,
hello podcaster, content creator. No, I'm
That's
not.
it.
You are.
And yes, I do have to stand corrected now because
Yeah.
that is why I'm classed as, and I enjoy doing it. I enjoy planning the shows. You know, I always find topics for both, as you know, Redders likes to say how bad are the things I pick and stuff
The
like
problem
that.
is
But
some weeks you
it's
can't.
all good fun.
Exactly.
Yeah,
You sometimes you if you're purely going off news, you can't. A lot of weeks you just can't find anything. Some weeks
yeah.
there's nothing. And recently
That
there's been a spate of loads of news, mostly bad news, and there's some good news. But it's difficult some weeks because I found it with midweek gaming a lot of time. It's difficult because some weeks just
yeah,
there ain't no, and you got to find
yeah.
something to talk about. You
Well,
know,
this is
you
it,
know.
and I always chuck in loads and loads of stuff, news articles and things. So whoever's hosting the show, obviously me mainly PlayStation, and obviously Redders, he's currently taking a break for the moment. He's you know, just having a bit of a rest from stuff and
A good
just
lad. Whatever it
doing
is.
yeah, being an adult. He's being an adult and
Yeah.
doing adult life things. Um, But I just chuck them all in. Then he can pick.
Yeah.
He just picks what he wants. He's like, you hear him on the show. He's saying, "Oh, another shit topic from BMG," and it's all in good fun. Obviously, none of us have fall out or anything like that. It's just good fun. It's all having a laugh, and but yeah, I kind of like from there. Kept thinking I really want to do something Destiny wise again.
Well, it makes sense because out of all your games, obviously, apart from your Marvel Snap,
Oh
uh,
yeah, I
go
would
on,
have a
say it.
Marvel Snap
Go on, say it.
podcast.
What is Marvel Snap?
Marvel Snap is the Game Awards 2022 Game of the Year and the XPN Network mobile game. of the year as well.
There
Once you
you
go
go.
Marvel, there is no other
There
rival.
you go. He said it. But yeah, apart from that, the game you put the most amount of time and hours into is Destiny. So you may as well.
Yeah, yeah. So I just literally told the guys I'm doing a Destiny show, and it just kind of went, sort of gone from there, and it took a bit of planning. Shadow Maul and his friend Shadow Wolf,
Yeah.
the V VFX. They created the intro for Destiny, which is really really
Okay.
good. The countdown is they did all that, and yeah, it was fun. It was fun just to talk Destiny. I didn't even get through. I think I had 5 topics, and we didn't even. I think we got through 2 of them at most. I think because the conversation was going well. Was enjoying what we was talking
It's a
about.
good sign though, that is when
Yeah,
it goes well.
yeah,
It
and
is.
and it went well, and I've
I
had
think it did. Yeah.
yeah, and I've had a couple of people reach out to me. Sentinel, he sort of deals with like all the guest side of stuff now, and he's had people reach out to him that are up for being on the show as well. So there's I just need to figure out how I'm going to do it. I don't know if it's going to be a fortnightly or a monthly show, but I've still not figured that out yet. But yeah, content wise, that's pretty much where I am at the moment. There's other ideas, there's other things that I'm thinking of, and it's just it's time. Times you've got to be careful, as I've been through before. You've got to kind of not just do loads and loads of shows and create loads of new things and try and manage it. It's a lot when we do this as hobby and fun, and it's not work as in a job. It's all fun.
Yeah, it's difficult because obviously when you do shows, it's one of the most annoying things is when you want to do a podcast. If it's a live podcast, which it usually is, you got to try not to clash with other people that you're friends with or
Yeah,
you're acquaintance with. It's difficult, but there's that many podcasts. It's difficult to know when to do them because I'm not mentioning names, but there's certain podcasts that have one nearly every day, and that's
yeah,
not XPN, but there are podcasts that go live nearly 5 days a week. You know what I mean?
yeah,
It is difficult because a lot of these podcasts, some of them bring in big numbers, but it's a difficult one as well because you can also grow through the podcast feeds. Apple Podcasts is a great one.
yeah.
Spotify, all of them. I mean, I think XPN have got a feed, and I think they do quite well. It all helps. Although it doesn't help towards YouTube, but it's still a brand. It's still growing.
Yeah,
But
that's it.
yeah, but you're right with podcasting because if you podcast too much and you don't really game, some
Yeah,
podcasters end up podcasting more than they actually game, and that's
that's
not
it.
what it's all about. You've got to be
No,
careful and not to also piss your family members off to at the same time, and
exactly. Yeah.
also burn yourself out in the process because it's not good. It's not.
No,
It's
no,
not.
it's not. But yeah, we're still building the brand. We're still coming up with things and planning things. There's always something that we're planning and thinking of doing. It's just finding time and making sure everyone's available and things and where to put it. But yeah, we just keep trying to do different things, see what sticks. Obviously, Destiny the first show went well. Obviously, PSN being the new show to XBL, which fits in well. And anyone that's listened to the PSN Party podcast, usually at the very start of the show, I just even the panel doesn't know. I tend to just do something very random at the very start and come up with things, and then I've got all these like introductions that I do for them that I just think of things on the top of my head
Yeah.
just to make get everyone on that bit of a laughing, smiling side, and then go from there, just to change things up, do something a little bit different. Obviously, obviously we've not hosting XBL. I'm a little bit more on the quieter side, but obviously involved in the conversations, having a laugh because it's hosting's a lot. It does take a lot out of you because you
It
run
does because
show.
it's very different from sitting on the panel because I remember once on Midweek Gaming, a removable sanity asked to, because he could tell I was getting a bit fed up at one point in Midweek Gaming, and I took it on a hiatus, and then
Yeah.
he had a go, and after he said to me, "It's not as easy as it looks, is it?" He said, "You got to keep an eye on the chat. You got to keep an eye on what the conversation is, and next thing." He says it's not as I thought it was easy, but he says it's not after trying it. It's not as
No.
simple as everyone thinks it is.
No, and
It's not.
you've also got to and it's something you don't just know. It's something that you learn that I found, which I'm still learning and I think I'm slowly getting better at it. It's like when you've sort of you've gone through the topic of what the news article you're reading and you're going through the panel. What I try and do is I'll ask one panel member it one way and then ask another panel member a different way or maybe a different question to do with it, just to try and not just get the same answer for everything, but then also once they've sort of give their response, I try and, depending what they say, to see if I can then bounce another question off them or then bounce that question to someone else in off what they've said and things like that, just to keep it so not everyone's just giving pretty much the same answer to the same question, which it's hard. It's hard to do that because you have to be, as you say, as well as watching the chat, as making sure the stream's running, listening to the conversation, but then know your cues when you need to jump in, when you need to ask something, and trying to find that balance. It's not easy, and it does take
No,
a
it's not.
toll, and
It's
and it looks sometimes. I'm not saying I'm good at it or anything like that, but sometimes we make hosts make things look easy, but it's not. It takes a lot of thinking and planning and doing stuff at the spare of the moment. Some things you have to, and but then that's how you keep conversations going. You can. When we started PSN Party Podcast, say me and Sentinel, we bounce off. As I said, we bounce off each other so
yeah, no, it
well.
works really well. It does the
It
dynamic,
does.
and then with you added Ash in it, yeah, I think it works
Yeah,
even better. But either way, even if Ash can't make it one week, you and Sentinel bounce off each other quite well.
that's
You do.
it. That's it. And our very first episode of PSN Party Podcast, it was just me and Sentinel. We were meant to have a guest that first show, but we didn't. So we just thought, right, let's just go for it because we're like, what do we do? Do we cancel? What? It's like, no, let's just go for it. Let's just have a conversation about PlayStation and stuff. And we had our topics, and we bounced back and forth, and it worked. It worked really well. We've got that good dynamic, and I like to try and with people we have on, and with obviously I'm part of the XPN network team, and we all bounce off each other. We all have good conversations, and when things are happening in life, it's not as easy to be as enthusiastic or be like your normal self, and it's hard because you're trying to do a show when you've got real life things going on. It's like Sentinel took over hosting back in February for me, and I think he did it for a month, which I spoke to him beforehand because as you're aware, but not many others will be aware. My last February, my grandson passed away,
Yeah, well,
and it
it's
was
terrible.
it was
Yeah.
his in, in February was
Oh,
his
it's
first
not
year
right.
anniversary, and so
Oh,
mentally, I wasn't there. I couldn't focus. I couldn't. I was like sort of planning stuff, but I couldn't really do it. So Sentinel took
no,
over.
it's understandable. It is.
He took over
Um,
hosting, and a brilliant job. And he's really good at it. He's a natural at it. And I think I had a week off, or maybe 2 weeks off, and then I was back, but left Sentinel hosting. I thought, you just take over for a bit, and to get used to it, because he now does the XBN USA show.
he does. Yeah, he
Yeah,
does.
yeah. So and he enjoyed it, but I think he was glad when I took back over.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm really enjoying it. I didn't, if a year ago and someone had told me this is what I'd be, doing, being on podcast, hosting a podcast and stuff, I'd be like, nah, wouldn't have interested me in the slightest. So it was a bit, it's just strange how sometimes things come together the way they do, and that's all part with community, having, I wouldn't necessarily say connections, but like connections in like the community to people who are on shows and people in chat and the community on the Discords and on Twitter and things. It's good. It's good, and it's strange, as you say now, being classed as a content creator, because that's not something I'd ever thought I'd be doing.
Nice, no, it's all good. It's definitely a journey you had, and you're learning well, because that's quite a good skill to learn, where you have a topic, but you ask each different person like a different question to get a different answer. That's something I never did with big gaming. I'd ask the same question, and you were right. A lot of the time, you get basically the same opinion, but then by the time you got through a whole panel, they're like, "Yeah, my opinion's already been said." Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So no, it's a good idea.
Yeah, it's a hard thing.
I don't run into that issue no more. With obviously, I do a gaming conversation with friends. It doesn't operate like that, so we don't run into that situation. We don't, but it is a good way to do it, though. If you're covering news and things like that, it is a very good way. It is a different answer.
Well, it's like you're gaming with conversations. We've I think I said to you, it's the show that there was like me, you, Darren, and Luke Steele on, and it's like the 2.0 version of it.
Yeah, because I didn't
newer,
think about
better
it.
version.
It really is. It was going live for Stubbs, wasn't it? Was it?
I can't remember what we called it.
I had a few different names. I was going to be monthly show, but I buried it in the end. I did.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was just trying it. I don't know.
But it works. It works. That whole no set
2.0.
topic. Yeah. That whole no set topic and just sitting and having a conversation and just chatting away, and it does work. It doesn't work for everyone, but if you have, like, yourself, removable, VJ, and because you all bounce off each other, the conversation keeps going and gets more interesting, more in depth. And then when you chuck a guest in there as well to have that, bit of a change of opinion, and you always have someone on where everyone on the panel has got some sort of connection with it. It works really well.
Yeah, no, thanks for that. It's kind of the idea. Well, when you've got removable sanity on, definitely conversation go any direction you want. I'm VJ at times. But it's normally interesting conversations. Like, you haven't heard it all, but he started to ask about a conversation that you'd like to have about licensing. Do you own the game? And I said, no, it's a license. And he says, but could you pass that license on to your children? Has that ever come up in the will? And all that, and I couldn't really answer it. But you'll hear it when you catch up.
Yeah.
Well, difficult for me to answer that one. I said, we need big companies to get involved for that. I said, I don't think you need.
Technically, you can't, because any disclaimer, you're not allowed to sell or share outside your home, and you can't pass a license on to someone unless you're giving them your account. That's the biggest thing with digital media.
That's true. That is.
You can with a physical disc.
Yeah,
the physical disc you can, but again, it's still only leasing a license until the developers, publishers pull the game away.
Well, he brought up that sad story where, but I think it was on Dreamcast. The chap, his father died, and you know how, I think it was Sega Rally or something like that. You have a ghost, don't you? Well, he turned this so many years later. Turned on his Dreamcast. Well, his dad was on there. His dad's ghost. So he got better and better, but he would never beat it, because the minute you beat your ghost disappears. You know you can race ghosts.
Yeah, it's like
he'd never. A few years ago, the story came out, and he'd never beat. He'd right to the end, and he'd stop, because the minute he beats him, his dad who died, ghost went.
Yeah.
But he said you
Yeah.
wouldn't get that in a modern game. He said, "Do you know what I mean?" But it's stories like that. But yeah, it came up. It was interesting. It was, but yeah, it's a different kind of show. It is. But yeah, no, your podcasting journey's come quite far, and I'm glad you're enjoying it. I am, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like I say, I'm more of the, because obviously, as I always say to most shows, my PC's a potato held together by dust.
You do well
So
because obviously I've got I had a laptop potato, but now mine's like £1,000 PC, so it's not
yeah,
a potato no more. But
yeah.
you know what I mean, it's quite
I make it. I
yeah.
make it work, but I'm more of the ideas guy. I've got ideas for things, but I can't really put it all together because I've not got the the physical stuff to do it. But yeah, I've got a few ideas of different things I'd like to do and try and things like that. To see what works, see what doesn't work. But it's like I say, all comes down to time, um, planning, and which is never easy because sometimes dealing with some people, it's not as easy as sending a message and getting an answer straight away because it could be different with different time zones, or they're at work, or they're in bed, things like that. It's trying to plan things, and it all just takes time. But yeah, there's probably some interesting things coming in the future.
Yeah, most definitely. You're definitely right. Just a few shout outs. Shouts to Fimber, Masuku, Darren, A Friendly Pest. And that's it at the minute. Thanks for dropping in, guys, to the stubzcast. If you're on YouTube, please subscribe, like, and share. If you're on Apple Podcasts, please let me have some reviews. BMG is the only one so far that's actually given an Apple Podcast review, despite no, Stubbs. Yeah, you have given the Stubbscast review for that one, didn't you? I thought I was on that game. Yeah, the Stubbscast needs Apple Podcast reviews, but also needs a game of conversation reviews as well. Just we have a lot of listeners on Apple Podcasts, and nobody likes to leave a review. It's cool. Yeah,
I'll have a look. I thought I had done it on that one, but I'll double check. If
I
not,
thought I
I'll
was
drop
on conversation with get gaming with friends then. I did, but no. Leave your reviews if you will. It helps. It does. Because the Subscast on podcast feeds is very popular. On Spotify, we've got 89 listeners, and the Subcast nearly has over 1,000 plays on podcast feeds.
Oh, really? Oh, that's amazing.
It's
strange, isn't it?
Over all the shows, over the 52 interviews, it's had nearly it's not at 1,000, but I haven't looked in a while because I've got to look at the main feed, but it should be at 1,000 nearly. It's a bit weird because podcast feeds a lot of people, because these are more interviews and not as popular, but some of them are on YouTube. You got your dealer, but young lad Lewis from LOD Perspective on YouTube, his one's got 191 views.
Oh, wow, that's amazing.
Yeah. But no, it's all fun. I don't do it for the views. It's just interesting just to see it grow. That's all. Just interesting conversations. Because a lot of people like to hear stuff like that today.
Yeah, and it's like you get more and more people that are listening. I find now listening podcast wise instead of doing it through YouTube. Because unless you've got YouTube Premium, you have to have it open up on your phone the whole time. Whereas podcast, you can have your screen off and have your headphones in.
I upload video now to Spotify. You may not notice because it comes through as an audio file. But I upload videos now to Spotify. It plays videos now. It just automatically offers the video. You don't have to have the video, but it does.
Yeah.
But it's just a thing that they're pushing videos now. But it just tells you if you upload a video, all the other podcast platforms will just get audio. So they make it easy for you.
Oh, that's brilliant.
But, yeah.
Wow.
But so gaming history. Where did you first start off with gaming then? Can you remember? You don't have to go. You don't have to go into specifics. You can do the basics if you want. I'm not very good at gaming history.
I've had a fair few over the years. I think I can't remember the name of the console, but I remember the very first one I played on. It was the one where you had the keyboard and you had to put the tape in.
Commodore 64.
Commodore 64, that's it. Yeah, it was on. I
Yeah,
couldn't
that
remember the
sounds
name of
like
it.
That does.
Yeah, where you
Yeah.
had to put the tape
You
in
do.
and
Yeah.
to play the game. Yeah, that was my first introduction into gaming. I think I played in Atari once. Was it the 2600 many years ago?
Maybe.
Quite possibly, but yeah, that was kind of my first introduction into gaming, and I was a bit skeptical about it because obviously the Commodore and stuff, it wasn't exactly groundbreaking graphics and stuff. But
wasn't.
for back in the many moons ago, it was good. I couldn't even tell you what even games I played on it. It was
All
kind
I
of
remember was playing a game called Mr. Angry. Now, don't ask me what the game was actually about. I can't remember. I just remember seeing the case. That's all. I can't remember.
I can't. And I'm
but
thinking,
it wasn't actually out. I believe it was a hand-me-down from my uncle. I got it off Commodore 64. It wasn't actually. It wasn't actually at the time in console. I don't believe. My uncle was getting rid of it, and I had it. But yes, UK Daz has 2 Baldies. Yes, correct. Welcome, Daz.
But yeah, I really saw the vague thing I can remember was you had to go from, obviously it was only a side scroller, but you did one screen at a time, then had to load up the next screen. But the idea was you had like a bit like a tribe or with a carriage, and you had to like get as far as you could before everyone dies. And I can't quite remember how it worked, but that's the only vague thing I can remember. And after that, I had the Nintendo, the original Nintendo. Big Mario fan back then. That's all I ever played was Mario and Duck Hunt. I got all the Mario games, with the big giant cartridges. I had the bazooka.
Nice.
I can't even remember what that was used for, but I remember I had the bazooka. I had the gun for Duck Hunt because it came with it.
Okay, yeah.
I had the robot. I don't know if you remember the little robot.
No, I don't.
Oh yeah, it was like it would have been about 10 inches tall, and you plugged it into the front of I think it was into the Player 2 slot on the Nintendo, and when you played games, it was meant to. It was meant to help you.
Yeah, I never had a Nintendo. I was Sega.
Oh yeah. Oh, I didn't touch Sega. I've never been a fan of Sonic and Sega. Never was back then. You had to bring up
Sonic, didn't you?
Oh,
you knew I was about to ask you.
Yeah, oh yeah. Nope. I'll never play that game ever, in any sense of form.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah, and I had the Power Glove as well. So I had got all the accessories and that for that. I remember having that, and if I went back to my mum's, I'm sure it's still up in the loft somewhere, the original stuff. But it's been many years since I've been up there.
Wow, you wouldn't be able to handle it anyway. Your eyes would be like, driving. Oh yeah, under 60 frames per second.
About six frames a second. Yeah, I've got no chance now. And then from there, I went on to the Nintendo, Super Nintendo. Again, Mario All Stars, Super Mario World. Me and my uncle, we grew up together. I pretty much because he was a year and a day older than me. So
your uncle was really?
Yeah. My uncle's a year and a day older than me.
There's always a gap between my uncles were always a lot old. Yeah, I mean my uncle was like, I can't remember, a lot older than me. I know that.
Yeah.
But he was a gaming uncle too. Dreamcast and all that. He had everything that came out. He had basically.
Yeah, and but we grew up together, so we always played Super Mario World. It's just the game we just always played constantly. We had a few games, but that's like the memory I really have is that we all used to play. We just played Super Mario World. That was nice. the game we played.
You ever thought about getting back into the Nintendo, trying the games out again with the Switch?
No, it's not my thing anymore. It's all changed. I think it was just. Then it was you were rather a Sega person or a Nintendo person.
Has it though? The Mario games all look the same.
Yeah, but I prefer the
Yeah.
2D side scroller ones. It's bad though when I found out some of the history with like the Super Mario games, like all them bricks that you hit to
Yeah.
get the coins out and the bricks you destroy.
Yeah.
Well, they're all actually the mushroom toads of the kingdom. So every time
Oh.
you destroy one, you were technically killing them.
Oh, okay. Oh.
It was a few years ago I discovered
Oh,
that, and I
okay.
felt,
You felt bad,
yeah,
did you?
I did, I felt so bad all them toads that I murdered in a Mario game, but and we had there was this handheld Lynx. It was the Lynx. Was it the
The
Linux? The
links.
Lynx. The Lynx.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
We had one of them. I think it was with my other uncles, but we all sort of shared it. And again, I can't remember even any game that even came out for it. It was very brief period was that one. Where did we go from the Super Nintendo? Did I? I can't.
Daz,
Oh,
is,
it was the
Daz is correcting you. The Atari Lynx.
That's it. Yeah, that's the one. That's the one.
He's
Yeah,
the
we had
retro
one of
guy
them.
in chat. Daz is. You start mentioning bits. He will probably.
Yeah, and I had the original Game Boy,
I've got
the
one
one
of them.
where
I have got one of them upstairs.
yeah,
A yellow
where
one.
you had to, if you were going to play it at night, you had to shine a light on the
Yeah.
screen so you could see.
Yes.
Oh God, yeah. I used to love Tetris on that thing. That was awesome.
Tetris. Yes.
Oh, classic game, classic.
Biggest games in the world.
Oh yeah. And I still remember. We had the original Pokemon on there.
Yes, that was on there. I do believe it was. I had it.
Yeah,
I think
it
I'm
was
got it now.
always red. Always
It'll
went
be
red.
expensive now. It will be big time.
Oh God. It'd be cost more now for it than it did when it came out.
Yeah, it will.
It wasn't cheap then.
If all these people knew the game, the retro game, as a kid, if we all knew all this stuff would be a fortune in the future, we all would have kept it. We didn't know, did we?
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah. Things would have never have opened. Would have kept sealed forever and been millionaires by now.
Exactly.
And then we did have a Dreamcast.
Did you?
Yes, we did.
That's
We
his
did have a
ears will be
Dreamcast.
perking up now.
But the only game we played on the Dreamcast, and there was two games that we played. The first one was Toy Commander, which was just so much fun. It's literally you're in this house, and at your base you can flick between a car or a helicopter or a plane, and the idea is you just try and kill each other and destroy each other's bases and stuff like that. Which it was good fun. It was good fun. Hours of fun in that.
Okay.
And of that Shenmue, we
Shenmue,
loved Shenmue. Yeah, the original, and I've still got, and I don't know where it is. Again, it's probably it's actually might be at me mum's. I think Shenmue 2 still sealed in its
Go
case.
open that loft, get it down, send it to me.
It's worth a fortune.
I know.
That game. Yeah, and it's still sealed because I never opened it because I was told, oh, it's worth money. I remember because it was hard to get hold of, and I managed to get a copy, and I never played it. And I think if I had the time then, I would have played it, but for whatever reason, I didn't. And it just always sat sealed, so that's kicking about somewhere.
You hope your mum's not sold it on
I
a boot
hope.
sale.
Yeah,
50p.
that wouldn't surprise me. And then went on to the PlayStation. That's when they got the PS1, and obviously depending if most people remember this, and you got the Game Genie, where you bought the bootleg thing and you put the spring inside the lid.
Ingemel's Market down there for a tenner. It used to be all piracy games were everywhere for the PS1.
Oh yeah,
Ingemel's Market was. I went there years ago when I got my missus, and I was like, well, what's going on? What do you mean? Well, I came here when I was a kid, and there was dodgy tables everywhere selling pirated games. It was well corrupt. Oh no, it all changed. But yeah, it was like 2 for a tenner or 3 for a tenner. They all worked though, because they wouldn't rip you off. Because if you come back, they just give you another copy.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? You used to pay the police off. They did.
Yeah, Yeah, and it was crazy the things you could pick up. But we did have some original games before we got that. It's like Twisted Metal. We loved that game. We used to play it all the time. 2-player.
Yep.
Where you had to go around the arenas and work together.
I've
That
never
was
played
always
that
fun.
one. I've heard of it.
Well, the actual very first game I got for the PlayStation, which I was only a kid, the original Grand Theft Auto.
Oh yes, nice pick.
Yes,
The
yes.
rooftop view. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
I'd love
rooftop
another
view.
one like that with like 4K graphics. Now I'd love another Grand Theft Auto from the top view, but sadly, it's something we'll
Can't
never
see it
see.
happening. No, I can't.
No.
You might get another
Um,
GTA 5 though. If you
Oh,
look at
I'd love that. And maybe if they had a top-down view for that game, it'd make it more fun.
just the
Even more
top-down
fun.
view mode of BMG Special Edition,
That's it. I'll
70
be
quid.
all over that. I'll buy it on both consoles. Oh, definitely,
Yeah,
definitely.
yeah. I always find it
Oh,
funny. Someone give you crap. You're the problem. Oh, right, fuck it, I'm gonna buy another copy. You think
that's
he
it.
did?
Yeah, I did. I did. Someone gave me abuse code, telling me I'm the problem why they're not bringing out GTA 6. Like I'm holding them at gunpoint or something.
Yeah.
And so I purposely went and bought the optimized version for the opposite console I already had, just to stick it to them because I thought it was funny. They weren't happy. Well, hey, I'm part of the problem, and
Yeah, apparently.
yeah, need to keep GTA 5 going until the next gen, and then can have GTA 6. Then I'll allow it.
The way
I'll
they're
allow
going,
it
it
then.
might be. Yeah, the way they're going, it might be that.
Yeah, it's probably still going to be a while for that one, so we'll see. We'll see. What else did I play? Oh, I had the Metal Gear Solid, the original, that was on 4 discs.
I
Oh,
remember it. My uncle had it. I wasn't very good at this game, but I gave it a little go. I'm
oh,
not stealth
absolutely loved it.
games. I'm no good at them. I'm not.
Yeah, it's a bit of a strange one. It's obviously there's so much dialogue talking in the codex and stuff like the codec. Sorry, and absolutely loved it. It was one of my favorite games. I did the 2 playthroughs to get the 2 endings. So I wanted I wanted the stealth suit because then you could just run through half the game and just keep flipping people over and they just end up going, huh, huh. Oh, it was fun back in the day in the old pixelated graphics where Snake didn't even have a face. It was just like mush. Oh, classic. God, what
It
else did I
was.
play?
Yeah,
Oh, I used to love the wrestling games on the PlayStation. SmackDown.
they were good. They were.
Oh, absolute class. I was
They were.
unbeatable, absolutely unbeatable, and I think that's sort of where I kind of I came into enjoying and watching wrestling was through that because the games were just so fun, and then I discovered that WWF and stuff at the time, and got right into it. It was yeah, and from there, obviously got the PS2. Hard console to get a hold of when it came out, but luckily I was managed to get one. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
and there was too many classic games to list that I remember playing on there. Um,
Tony
and
Hawk's Pro Skater. Did you play that?
yeah,
That was
and
on the
no,
PS1 though,
I
wasn't it?
we it was on the PS1 and it was on PS2, but uncles love playing it. I didn't. I was one of them games I didn't mind watching. But it wasn't a game I enjoyed playing, and I don't know why. I think it was just something that I just didn't fancy, to be honest. But I didn't mind watching it. The music was cool, and what they were doing, all the tricks and things, and all the grinding down the poles was all fun. But yeah, it was good. It was a good game for them to watch, but not to play for me. Um, and then I got the original Xbox because there was main reason I picked that up, and it
Yeah.
wasn't for Halo because a
Wasn't it?
lot of people
Okay.
obviously went for Halo. For
Yeah.
me, it was WWF Raw because you couldn't get Raw on the PlayStation. You could only get SmackDown because SmackDown was the blue brand and it was only on PlayStation.
Oh, okay.
And Xbox, you could only get Raw.
I didn't know that.
And
I learned something
yeah,
there.
yeah,
Okay.
and I wanted that, so so I got the original Xbox and loved that game. It wasn't as good as SmackDown, nowhere near as good as SmackDown. But yeah, and then obviously I played Halo. I really enjoyed that game, but then I didn't even really use it that much after that. It kind of just sat and
I never really
gathered
had the
dust.
original Xbox. Didn't have it. Um,
Yeah,
I got one eventually. My uncle gave me it slash sold it me.
yeah.
I think that was in the 360 gen, maybe it was. Shouts to Back from the Dead. Welcome Warwick Gaming. Thanks for popping in. But I never actually had a Xbox original. I
No,
didn't
no,
know.
yeah.
As
It was
in
all
at the
right.
time when all the hype and when it was out, I
Yeah.
didn't have one. No, I didn't.
Compared to the PlayStation, I don't think it really had a touch on it at the time. But it was an enjoyable console, and there were a lot of good games on there. It was just I really only wanted it for one game, and that was the wrestling game because I was quite big, in wrestling. Then was more into it, watching it, so it was more for the games that I wanted it for.
Yeah.
And then from there, got the 360. Managed to get that
And
launch
the
day,
first
which
game
was
you bought, oh no, Gears of War.
no, no, no.
It weren't out for
The
launch
launch
day. I'm joking.
No, the launch game I got with the Xbox 360
Yeah.
was Condemned,
Oh,
which
never
was a
heard of it.
very Condemned. Yeah, it was like it was a bit of a weird game. You were like a detective or something, if I remember rightly. And you was trying to solve a murder or something, but you was like going. It was an 18. It was an 18, and you were like smashing people's heads in with like 2x4s and things like that. And it was and they did bring it was a scary game. You are right. It was a very weird game. I can't remember a great deal about it, but they did bring out a second one. But we had the 360. We obviously got the Halo. Was it Halo 2 that came out on that? It was, wasn't it? Halo 2 was that?
I wouldn't.
I think.
I
Get
didn't
Halo
actually.
2.
I didn't return to gaming. I didn't have original Xbox. I got an Xbox 360. I didn't game for years. I got an Xbox 360 because a guy at work was telling me how good Gears of War was, and you needed to buy. And I got one. Then I went to got Gears 2. Then he said get Gears 3, and that's how I liked it. No, Gears 2. Then I bought Gears 1, and I got Gears 3. Weird order, I know. But that's how I got into it.
You didn't do the first game first.
No, I didn't. No.
I did play Gears on the 360, and I did enjoy it. I think that's where I first played it on there. But again,
You either like it or you don't with Gears. It's one of them things.
Yeah. I think I was going through like the basketball phase as well. I always got the NBA Live game and the Grand Theft Auto games, and because obviously the 360 came out a year before the PlayStation 3, so there was quite a lot of games on there that I'd played all Xbox because
always remember an old boss.
There were no good. They were no good on the PS2 anymore. So, but then when the PlayStation 3 launched,
450 quid.
I got PlayStation 3.
That's how much it was, wasn't it? 450
Yeah.
quid. Because I remember an old boss, and he said to me, "Oh, is it because he knew I like gaming? Oh, do you know about the PS3? Because he promised his son if he did play anything, he owned a company, his exams and all, he'd buy him a PlayStation 3. Did you promise him? And yeah. Do you know how much they are? No. Well, without a game, they're 450 quid. Well, his eyeballs nearly popped out the sockets.
Yeah.
How much?
Yeah.
450 quid with no game. Oh. I think I made a mistake there, but I'm going to have to buy him one if he does well now.
That's it.
Crazy was, but
Yeah, got the PS3, and again, many games I played on there, like the different Spider-Man games, the Uncharted, again, one of my most favourite series I've ever played. And I remember playing Snake Eater.
Okay.
On the PlayStation 3, which again is a really good game. Which there are the rumours that it is the remake's coming out this year, which I'm hoping for an announcement for. Because
that'd be good.
Snake Eater was one of my favourites. It's technically Snake Eater's technically the very first Metal Gear Solid. How Big Boss got his name, Big Boss. It's like the origin story of Metal Gear Solid, and it's weird that the games, even though they come out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that isn't not even the order of it. Technically, Metal Gear Solid 1 is that would be number 4, technically. The 4th one in the series.
Okay.
Metal Gear Solid 2 is technically the 5th one in the series. It's very confusing. But yeah, did Metal Gear Solid Snake Eater on there, and Metal Gear Solid 4, which to me is the best Metal Gear Solid game, is Metal Gear Solid 4, and it's trapped on the PlayStation 3.
Was Kojima still involved then? Was he?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Kojima was involved in them all,
Okay.
but it was 5. There was a very controversial one which he was involved in. But yeah,
Okay.
Metal Gear Solid 4 was probably, I think that was the best one because it kind of brought it back to the modern times with Snake being old and dying and things. But it's trapped on the PlayStation 3, which is a shame. You can't play it backwards compatible or
That's a
anything
shame,
like that.
is.
Yeah, and it's a really good game. Long cutscenes. I think one cutscene goes on for 48 minutes.
Well, yeah, Kojima. I can, yeah.
Yeah.
He will be a
the
movie
classic.
director one day. He will do it. I'm telling
Oh
you.
yeah, he'll be there. He'll get there. It'll be a 7-hour film, but
Yeah, exactly.
he'll get there.
Yeah.
An Army of Two. I used to love Army of Two. That was a classic game. 2-player co-op. We had to work together to get through every level. Oh, classic game. And where'd we go from there? And I think between then we picked up a GameCube because we
Yes, the
wanted
smaller
to.
discs they had.
Yeah,
They did.
but we only got it for one game, and we
Mario.
only ever played. Nope, not Mario. To play Metal Gear Solid Twin
Oh,
Snakes,
okay.
the remaster HD version of the original, where
That's
it was actually
dedication. You bought it for one game.
for one game. And sadly the game looked beautiful the way they redid the graphics and everything like that, but they cut parts of the game out. Parts of the original game were missing and changed, so it wasn't faithful to the original game and what it set up. So there was actually a lot missing out of it, which was a shame. But that could have been due to the size, because they fit it on one disc. So I think that was due to the size of the game. They had to cut stuff out to make it fit. God, where do we go from there? We got the I got the PlayStation 4 before I got the Xbox One. And obviously I'd never heard of Game Pass or anything like that. But yeah, I was all PlayStation 4 from the start of that generation. Literally played every title on there. Anything, all the exclusives, everything, all PlayStation 4. Loved it. Absolutely loved it. I even picked up the PSVR 1 for it. Got the, because it was the games I played on there. My favourite VR game out of all the VR games I've played is Star Trek Bridge Crew, where you're actually on the bridge of a starship, got one person, the captain, giving the orders, and everyone else working at the stations while, in space fighting battles, and you just see the view screen, and that's the view you see it from, and it's fun game.
Nice.
But yeah, I got, and it was like the back end of the PlayStation 4 generation, I toyed with the idea of getting the Xbox One, but I didn't want to go buy one brand new. My nephew gifted me one because he was telling me about Game Pass. Because at this point, I'd never even heard of Game Pass. I didn't even know what it was. And he explained it to me. So you get all these games. You pay a monthly fee and you get like 100 games. And it's like, what? And it's like, yeah. The catalog's just going crazy. They're adding new games all the time. And there was games on the system I wanted to play that I never got a chance to play because they didn't come to the PlayStation. So so we got the Xbox One, and the amount of games that I played on Game Pass is just
That was when Game
catalogues
Pass
of games.
was first starting. That was.
Yeah, and well, this was probably a bit later on into Game Pass because I played all the Gears games, all the Halos games. I played Quantum Break, which is a game I always wanted to play, but it was never coming to PlayStation, so I could never play it. And absolutely love that game, which is now back in Game Pass now.
I don't really know why anyone made a fuss. Why do people make a fuss about that leaving then coming back? Well, is it because it was an Xbox IP? Was it?
Yeah, it was the why Xbox taking their own IP out, but obviously Xbox wasn't. It wasn't their responsibility for like licensing and stuff. That was Remedy.
Oh, it
But
must be Xbox paid for it to go back in then, most likely.
yeah,
Or
yeah, very,
licensing
very
or
like,
something.
yeah, they would have had to pay whatever licenses for the music and stuff, which is well worth it. It's an amazing game if anyone hasn't played it, because I liked the whole TV show.
I've not played it.
Yeah, the TV show game aspect, the decisions you make depends
Yeah.
on what episode of the TV show you see. It's really good, really
okay.
good. Yeah, and then literally mainly anything Xbox, I just played through the Game Pass, and then when it came to this generation, um, it was like, where do I go? Do I go play PS5 or do I go Series X? You know, I had the choice at the time, and I decided to go Xbox because we've obviously everyone I met in the community and things, and so I went that direction and went with the Xbox, and you know, loved all the games I played on it, and because obviously Destiny, which I play a lot of Destiny. All my friends, they all play Xbox and Destiny as well. So we went that route.
Yeah.
And then my wife was she just one day turned around and says he's you know because I remember joking saying to me I'd love a PlayStation 5, you know,
Yeah.
and I can't remember the context it was in, but one day she just turned around and says, "Are you still wanting a PlayStation 5?" I says, "Yeah, I'll have one," you know, just, I think joking, and
Yeah.
then next 2 days later I had a PS5 sat there and
Goodness.
a couple of games, but there's just too many games that I can't even remember now that I've played over the years
That's fair. You don't have to remember all
and
of them.
recently.
You don't.
Yeah, yeah, but it's one of them. I always used to be. I was all about, and which attracted me more on the PlayStation side, and still does attract me to the PlayStation side, is the story-driven cinematic, you know, adventures, big stories, set pieces. You know, like Uncharted is just amazing for that, and I've always been about just the single-player games and the experience that that I get from it, and you know the personal connections, like God of War, not Ragnarok, God of War 2018, um, the whole father son connection and the struggling father struggling to show his emotions to his son since his wife, you know, Tracy's mother passed, and you know, I find I related to a lot of the stuff there. It was a good game. The game was fun, but it's the story that grabs me. It's stories in games that really I connect with.
Yeah.
And
That's
then
why you connect
anything,
with the PlayStation games so much because of
yeah,
the story narrative games they are.
that's it. That's it. And that's why I love them. You know, there's always the argument every game's the same, just a different
They're
skin. But it's
not.
like,
No way.
but
They're not.
it's not because all the stories are different. You know, they PlayStation put a lot into the characters, the story. They make you feel a connection to the people you're playing as, or you know, um, and things like that, and like the enemy, arch nemesis, however you'd word it,
Yeah.
who you're up against. You can like also feel for them and see things from their side of stuff as well, um, and I just love it. I just really enjoy it. And like Star Wars, Jedi Fallen Order, and all the game gets slated a lot for um, like a lot of the mechanics and things, but the story. Um, if you're a fan of Star Wars and you've seen the films where this takes place, you know, where Order 66 has just been initiated, and like the loss of life, and you know, and the things that you go to each planet, and you know, you can see the Empire's been there, the way how everyone's been treated
Yeah.
and mining it for resources. It's just, and I felt connections on there with, you know, with the different characters and things, and felt for Cal Kestis. You know, he's just literally lost his home, his mentor, his father figure, everyone he knows and loves is gone, and you know, and it's amazing games like that. You know, not just exclusive to one platform, but what you know the different companies are making, and and the games they're bringing out. And I like the multiplayer side as well. I like being able. I use that mainly for fun, not for something to take serious. Just fun playing with other people online, catching up with friends that I don't get to see much of, and things like that. But yeah, no, that's pretty much where I am in the gaming life.
Yeah,
I've
no.
had a lot of consoles.
Yeah, you definitely have. Thanks for catching me up there. It's you've played a lot of consoles, a lot of great games you have. But it's just good to get your gaming history and have a chat about podcasting and your journey into it. But, you probably might not answer this. Have you got any tips for anyone who wants to get into podcasting? Any does it have to be great tips? Any words of advice for anyone wanting to guest on shows or anything that might help people?
I would, if it's something you're interested in getting into or trying, reach out to, if you know people who do shows and stuff. Just reach out to them and ask them. If you want to guest on the show, just mention if there's ever a space. I'd love to be on or something like that. But also, I would the best advice I would give is be yourself. Don't try and be someone else. Don't try and do things how you think they should be done. You've got to be yourself, because people see that. People will see how you are on different shows, how you are in chat to how you are actually in a show. But that's the best advice is be yourself and do things your way. Don't you can get a lot of people say you should do this, you should do that, do it this way, do it that way, and maybe a bit that sort of advice and how to start something. But you have to find your own way. If you're just going to do the same as everyone else, you're not going to stand out. You're not may not get a bigger audience that you want or looking for if you're doing what everyone else is doing. It's like, just try and do something a little bit different and be natural in yourself and find your own way. That's sort of what I did, is try and do my own thing, and I always hope it tries and connects across to the audience.
Yeah, thanks. That's great advice. That is good advice. So if you want to try it, reach out. It's a very good advice, BMG. Thanks for that, because you experienced it. You did.
Yeah.
You went through it, so you
yeah, and that I'd like, as I said at the start, I'd like 10 pages of notes written down, and it's you look at the words and half the time you can't say them. You've just got to kind of do your research. If you know what you're going to be talking about or what you're going to decide you're going to do, just do a bit of research. I'm not saying you have to like go down the rabbit hole and discover every nook and cranny, but just know what you're going to talk about. And as we said earlier, it's like if you're hosting and you're asking someone a question after an article you've read, and listen to what they say, and maybe you can ask them another question on top of what they've said, because it can lead to that. Or when then moving on to your next guest, try and change it up a bit. Ask them, on the same subject, but ask them in a different way, and ask them something slightly different, so you're getting a bit of a different answer instead of just everyone that's saying the same thing and eventually getting around to someone saying, everyone's already said everything, there's not more to say.
Yeah, no, that's true. Great advice. But yeah, it's been a great show, BMG. Thanks for coming on. It's been a pleasure to have you on. You're now in the stubzcast interview Hall of Fame. You are.
That's it. My picture's going up on the wall.
Yeah, it is. But yeah, thanks for coming on. Do you want to tell people where they can find you? Either on XPN. I do believe I have dropped his links in the description, but I will check after the show. I will. But you want to tell people?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at BoldmanGamer. You can find me on PlayStation at BoldmanGamer86 or Xbox BoldmanGamer. And also can find me over on the XPN Network at XPN Network and on YouTube, where all our content's there. I think, what day are we now? Yeah, next show's tomorrow, PSN Party Podcast at 8:30 p.m. BST, and I'll be hosting that, so you can find me there tomorrow.
Yep. Thanks, BMG, for coming on.
Thank you.
If you've enjoyed the show, please like, share, and subscribe. If you're on Apple Podcasts, please leave a stubzcast review, or on Spotify. It helps the algorithm. But yeah, thanks everyone for tuning in live and after the fact. And I'll see you on the next stubzcast. I will release information as and when I know.